When I was about 13, at the end of Standard 7, Grade 9, I failed history. I got 37% and the pass mark was 40%. But if you were giving the disciples a mark on how they were doing as followers of Jesus at the time of the Last Supper, what would you have given them? Bearing in mind that they wouldn't wash each other's feet, they spent a good deal of time arguing about who was the most important, and before the evening was over, they would all run off into the dark, leaving him to face his accusers alone. What would you give them? I think I'd give them about 37%, a fail. And yet look what Jesus says about them to his Father in his great prayer of John chapter 17. It seems that Jesus is not just giving them a pass mark, but almost 100%. What's going on here? Well, I think it's that Jesus doesn't look at us as we are, but at what we can become in him. He looks at us with the eye of faith. Or as it says in Romans, he calls things that are not as though they were. And I, for one, am very glad he does that. Well, let's look at Jesus' prayer list, the things he asks for the night before he's killed. There are 9 of them. Only 2 for himself, the other 7 for us. That's perhaps a measure of his great generosity and perhaps a measure of our great neediness. Well, let's turn to the 7 things that Jesus asks the Father to give us. Now, there is one word that occurs more than any other. It's the word give. It occurs 17 times. This chapter is all about what Jesus wants the Father to give us. This is all about gifts. It reminds me of Christmas morning. How did you spend your Christmas morning? My father used to go into the lounge and set up the tree with its lights, in the early days actual candles, which was quite dangerous. And then I would come in and there would be the beautiful tree, and underneath it a great big white pillowcase with all my gifts in it. That's a bit how I feel with Jesus' prayer here. Just look at the things he asks the Father to give us. Now, if I said to you, you can have just one of those, which one would you choose? I was very drawn initially to joy. If I could just have the full measure of Christ's joy, you could cope with anything with that, couldn't you? But then I thought his prayer, that I may be in them, to have Christ living in me, a living relationship right here with God. And surely joy would follow from that anyway. And I was very drawn that they may be truly sanctified, completely clean, never to have to feel guilty or apologetic again. That really appealed to me. And then one that I wasn't quite so sure of, that you would protect them. Well, I'm very grateful for that, but that means I will need protecting. I'd rather live a life where I don't need protecting, where everything goes well. Jesus said, I do not pray that you will take them out of the world. We are to bear, along with everyone else, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. It would be interesting to analyze all our prayers. How many of our prayers are actually a prayer to be released from the normal pressures and pains and stresses of this world? Jesus didn't pray for that. He simply prayed, protect them from the evil one. And then, of course, that we would be in glory with him. But there's one on this list that I think a lot of us would leave to the bottom of the list. But it's the only one that Jesus mentions more than once. Actually, he mentions it 4 times, that they may be one. Almost as if Christian unity is the thing he most wishes us to have. Down the years, I'm afraid the church has not done very well on this issue, have we? I think we're a little better now than we were. There was a man who was marooned on a desert island, and they found him 10 years later. They were quite impressed. He had already built himself a house and made a nice vegetable garden. And they said, what's that building up on the hill? He said, that's the church I go to. And what's the building on that hill? He said, that's the church I used to go to. The amazing propensity we have for disunity. So which of these gifts would you choose? Well, actually, it's a silly question. My father didn't invite me into the lounge and show me the pillowcase and say, now you can choose one. Jesus wants us to have them all. And all I can say is, Jesus, I thank you.